I believe foundations that should be put in place, and I think, and they don't teach us that in business
Mm-mm.
school.
Mm-mm.
They don't teach
No.
us that anywhere.
Mm-mm.
It
Mm-mm.
really, it's why it's important to connect with the right
It
people.
is. It's critical.
It really is, and I thank God that I connected with some great people, long ago, and even now with the Millionaires Club, because when they're able, people are able to give to you without expecting anything in return, because we know giving it should be given. You know what happens when it's pressed down, measured together, it comes right back to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm paraphrasing. That is not the real scripture, but I just think it's so important. But what I'd like to talk about, we really have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about the magazine again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how are you finishing this year strong with Emerge Woman?
Focus.
Yeah.
Focus is key for any business owner, entrepreneur, or business professional. And so it's focus and it's flexibility. So two key F's. And being patient with yourself on the process. Now, when we started the publication, we had a goal to do a certain amount of publications per year. But life happens in between. Surgeries happen, family things happen. And so it doesn't have to change the goal, but how you get there may change. So it doesn't have to stop you from achieving the goal. But as business owners and entrepreneurs, we have to be focused but flexible. And so it's
That's
important
good.
that we're flexible because of being flexible, we didn't sacrifice quality. And so we continue to evolve and continue to attract supporters, funders, things of that nature, because even though I did less publications than I initially planned, the quality wasn't sacrificed, the content wasn't sacrificed, our strategy wasn't sacrificed. We had some changes in, some of the staff that I used, in creating the publication. However, our core goal, our core focus never changed. And so it's important to know what your mission is. And being strategic means every decision you make, everything that you do aligns with that mission, but you're flexible along the way because life happens. And if you're not flexible, you will fold. Your business will crumble. You have to be flexible with your relationships. You might start out with 10 and end up with three, but you
Usually.
have to be flexible. Absolutely. So, ending my year strong looks like focus on where do we want to go, what are the next steps for emerge, taking the core team that I have and making sure that's on track with what our why is, and what's going to continue to cause us to evolve, to that next level of success as a publication.
Okay, and I'm in agreement. I want to add a little to that. Refocus, revisit that vision.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to do that.
Exactly. You don't have to
Okay,
always start new goals as you're
exactly.
finishing the year strong and even moving into the new year. Many times we feel like because everybody's doing vision board parties and starting new goals,
Mm-hmm.
is a goal that you had, a viable goal that you need to still accomplish, and you may need more time moving into the new
That's
year.
right.
So just continue to refocus and
Mm-hmm.
achieve that goal.
That's right.
You don't have to necessarily start over new,
That's right. That's right. Talk about what I want you to share with our listening audience, because most of the time, businesses, um, go under not because they don't have enough money. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
that is,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
not because they're not good. It's because they have a temporary setback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand the importance of setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part
Mm-hmm.
of the vision.
It is.
I
It
tell
is.
people, I told them last week, concentrate on, listen, organize yourself around the outcomes,
That's
not the
good.
process.
I love that.
Because you're going to have a
That's good.
setback,
That's
ebbs and
good.
flows. It's a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
part of the vision.
It
It's a part
is.
of
It
it.
is.
And so, what do you say for those that had a temporary setback or two or three? In my case, four.
I've had tons, and some of those setbacks come with validating your idea, and so that's why I was able to handle any setbacks with emerge with grace and poise and stay in the game and stay
Oh, I
focused
love it.
because I didn't allow myself to go beyond what I was ready for when people were trying to push me in, because it is a quality publication. We have very influential, prominent women in our publication, but I had an inner knowing of what we were and weren't ready for. And if I would have stretched out there emotionally, um, I would have looked at failures much differently, and it would
Okay.
have caused me to possibly quit. So number one, it's a paradigm shift on how you look at failures. It is a learning experience that's going to help you be better on the other side of that. And we used to call it practice when we were younger, but we became harder on ourselves as adults. If we didn't get it right, it was practice. Okay, we do it again. And then now, how can we take that information? It's like Thomas Edison. I haven't failed. I found 10,000 ways that won't work. And so a lot of times it's just finding what works for your market and walking in that. Absolutely, yes.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another break, and then when we come back, we're going to finish up with finishing this year strong. We're going to take another music break because people want to hear the rest of, I'm looking at the messages, want to hear the rest of that music. And we're going to take that break. We're going to talk to Kiana a little bit more about how to finish this year strong. And so what I want you to do is I want you to tag, tweet, and text someone, and we're going to come back on how to finish that year strong after taking that music break. Thanks so much.
Right. ASAP.
Take that.
Oh, that's great.
And also, honey, in starting business, know yourself. Know your own limitations. Know what you're able to do.
That's excellent, babe. Awesome. So as she goes into finishing your year strong, if I can get it in, I will. But that is such a key point. Oh, God, passion and knowing yourself. Woo.
Because if you can't bench those 500 pounds, you're not going to go try to.
And then you try to take on other people's identity when you don't know who you are. See, Emerge came out of who I am. Oprah succeeds because everything she does comes out of who she is. It's authentic to who she is. Absolutely.
And she stayed in her lane because she knew what she was.
Right.
So that goes right in line with what you all been talking about. And especially that last, passion will help you overcome those.
Yep, that's
those
so
battles.
good. That's good. He brought up 2 good points about starting business. This was good. Passion and knowing yourself. I was like, oh God, that is so true. To thine own self be true. That is so important. I think about Oprah.
Okay, we're back. For those who've just joined us, took a quick break. We're going to continue on. We have Kiana Cressman, who is the publisher of Emerge Women's Magazine. Share with us a little bit what we were sharing during the break, what you thought was important. Your husband brought this point up.
He brought up a couple points. He was talking about when going into business, 2 key things you need. And we talk about this all the time. So thank you, Terry. Passion. Because passion keeps you going through all the cycles and season of business. There are people who are multi-billionaires today, but their idea didn't seem like it was going to work, but they didn't give up because they were passionate and they knew that this was a viable concept, and you have to be willing to ride it out and stick with it. And sometimes that's years down the line before you necessarily see the fruitfulness of that. But that's why it's important to, validate that idea, but be passionate about it. Many people look at Oprah and look at the success and say, oh, look at what she's done and the mogul that she is. But everything that she does in business is an outspring of who she is. So the second part that my husband brought up was knowing yourself. Emerge is an extension of who I am. It's a part of my journey, and women feel the authenticity of that. Business women of all levels. I mean, all the women that are represented in that feel that passion and that vision. And so it's important that if you don't know yourself, then you'll try to take on other identities and all these business ideas, and then you won't be consistent on anything.
Love it.
And so you have to know yourself as a business owner. And so that's one of Oprah's keys to success. It's everything she does is an expression of who she is. Yeah. She doesn't take on any business proposals that are not an expression of who she is. And that's really how I model myself in business. I do it because I feel I can make an impact there, and it is a viable demand in the market.
Good word. Good word. And and for those that have been listening, we talk about the 6 P's. I kind of try to be creative. Passion was the very first one.
Yes.
So important. Also, with the passion, it's so important as a business owner that you guard your heart.
That's good.
This is where emotional intelligence kicks in.
Yes.
You have got to be astute, studied emotional intelligence.
That's so
because
good.
it basically could make the difference of whether or not you can make a decision in one day that can turn everything around for good or for bad based on your emotions. So it's very, very important. If you think about Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, and people like that, these people have a very, very high emotional intelligence. Not as much academic, but emotional intelligence they do.
And can you touch on what that means a little bit for people
Pretty
who
much,
may not? What does
people
emotional
that are able to, that have emotional intelligence is really something that you can develop. It's an innate ability to be able to read a room, judge a situation,
that's good.
Make a decision without using emotions, no matter how bad it is.
Wow.
Also, it's a part of being self-aware, because if you're aware of yourself, you pretty much have you're ahead of the game. When you walk in, for example, if you walk into a room to do business and the people in the room are quiet, dignified people, and you have a bubbling personality, your emotional intelligence will kick in and say, chill. You need to be able to make people comfortable.
That's good.
Or vice versa. You walk into an environment, for example, when I went to work for the casino, the second time to become their director of image development, when I went for my interview, it was very important. I didn't go in with a little blue suit and a little Peter Pan collar, but instead I had on a pantsuit, a fur coat, because it was an environment they were looking to see. Are you going to be able to make a difference for our employees? Every day I was, I looked a certain way because it was all about, perception.
It is.
Emotional intelligence teaches you that. And so it gives you the ability to be able, it's almost like having a third eye.
Excellent.
Okay, so even as I'm talking to you now, I'm very aware of what I'm doing with my hands. I'm also very aware if I'm smiling or not. And so this is so you're able to read yourself as well as other people. And I think that it's key to guard your heart.
In business.
Because we tend to be, when you guard your heart and your emotional intelligence is intact, then you will be proactive as opposed to reactive.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I think that once people become a master at this, becoming a master at this is everything.
It is.
It's everything. I want to ask a few questions with you. I have a friend, she doesn't even, I'm going to go visit state on tomorrow. She doesn't even know I'm coming. But she went for her first big, she's a realtor, went for her first big deal. The deal was $17 million.
Ooh, wow.
She got the deal. The first African woman, the first woman or man to get a deal like that in the history of Naples, Florida, which is nothing but money.
Oh, my goodness.
One of the things that she did was she was able to kick in her emotional intelligence. Well, first of all, she drove up in her husband's car, which was a black Rolls. Well, that was smart.
Very smart.
People want to know who you are handling their $17 million house.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, the second thing she did was she did her homework. And she was ready for them to look at her as an African American and as a female. But see, when you're with a group of people, when you're in that environment, color doesn't really come into play.
There you go.
It won't come into play.
There you go.
Maybe the female part may for a minute come into play till you prove yourself. But she had every single. I heard the story because I heard her share her story, and I was checking off emotional intelligence, everything in place, self-aware, understanding who she was, understanding she did her homework. She looked the part, perceptive, and so that's really key for business people. It takes your business from hobby and hustle to a real business. And so I think that's real important. But I want to ask you,
that.
guarding your heart with all diligence.
Yes. For out of it flows the issues of life.
Absolutely. Yes. It's called Emotional Intelligence 2020.
There you go.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more. We have a lot of brothers on. I appreciate the men. I don't care what I talk about. I talked about what women don't know about money. And I hit home. I probably didn't make a lot of friends with women that day. But did you know I had 80% men on that day?
Wow.
But see, they want to know what women don't know about money. That's what they want to know. What do they don't know
What's
about
going
money?
on? I want to hear.
And they always come through, so I appreciate the men that are coming out. I'm going to send a shout out to all of you in a minute. So how do you keep momentum going? As a publisher, as a business owner, as a wife, trying to keep things together. And then you get to the end of the year, you're like, whew, I'm wore out.
Right.
You know, is this really what I want? Yeah, I think it is. But how do you keep that momentum going?
Absolutely. My surroundings are really, really important. And so you'll learn in business ownership and being successful also as a professional, a regimen is important. And so everyone has one that, or should have one that works for them. But part of my regimen is making sure that I have the right environment. You become the sum total of who is around you. And so if you either have people propelling you into purpose, destiny, and into the achievement of your goals, or you'll have people sucking and draining the life out of you and distracting you from those goals. So I think we underrate and underestimate how important those whom we surround ourselves with in our network and in our inner circle are. So that helps me to stay focused. And so having a supportive husband who is there, who I can, bounce ideas off of, share things with, and then really being strategic about handpicking the people who work with me on Emerge. And so I need people who can flow. I need people who can pick it up, go with it, who have the right heart, who are in it for the right reasons. And I would just say be slow to hire and quick to fire. If it's not working, move on.
Say that again.
And really make sure you're picking who aligns with, where you're going. And so I keep my environment right. And that helps me to keep my momentum going.
That's good. So one of the things that you do to keep your momentum going, because that's important, is to keep your environment right. I mean, that's powerful.
And renewing
That's
my
powerful.
mind, the first thing,
But keeping your environment right is key, and that's not easy.
It's not.
Particularly when you've brought in some things in your environment. Your environment is everything. It is everything.
It is.
Where you live, where you work, and who you're around. It's everything. One of the things that I want people to understand is the importance of staying focused and not getting distracted. Yesterday, I was going to take care of a huge deal worth a lot of money, and I had to go and numbers and had to go and sit at a bank because this was probably one of the biggest deals I'd ever made. And I was nervous, but of course I was checking myself every minute. Chill out. Next week, this won't even seem important. I was talking to myself, but this was a huge thing for me. And as I'm getting ready to go, someone came in the office, oh, I just had a big fight with the person downstairs over my sandwich. And I'm thinking, no, this person is not in my office talking about a sandwich. But the reality, they were. The reality is they were. And I'm trying to keep myself together and not look at them and say, really, I'm getting ready to go do something. And I realized I had to be kind. I also realized the importance of teaching that person. It was a teachable moment for me and hopefully for them. But to the point that they were getting a little loud about. So I said, okay, I listened. Meanwhile, I'm remembering, I got to get here, got to get to this bank. And I said, I want you to remember you're talking about a clerk in a cafe who's flipping bacon this morning. I want you to think about what you're saying and who you are in the scope of things. I want you to put this whole thing in perspective. But she's going on and on and on and on and on. And I thought, God, thank you that I'm changing my environment. And here's the thing. I calmed her down. She kept going, but she was a little calm. When I got to the bank, I'd left the paper, the envelope on my desk. So I needed to have wire transfer information. This was money, legal. And I didn't have it, but I remember putting it in my phone. And I remember thinking, that's your fault. Because you must remain focused and concentrated in your efforts to keep cool. And so I wanted to introduce to my audience the book of the month, because we're a little slow getting it out. It's called The Power of Concentration. I almost missed this book, guys, because of the title. It is one of the most prolific books I've ever had to date.
Awesome.
Because it literally teaches you how to concentrate. It doesn't just tell you the importance of focusing and concentrating, but it teaches you.
Excellent.
And some of these lessons are so like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you want me to stand here for like 4 minutes and do this? Yeah, because you're retraining your mind. And so I thought of that as I was going to the bank. And I remember thinking, whatever I do, make sure I have a second copy. And I put all of that information in my phone because I had to go a distance to this bank. And I had to do it within a matter of time because I was actually doing work. And I realized the importance of not getting distracted. And that was a small example, but it's important.
Absolutely,
that
it's critical.
Do not let anybody distract you when you're running your business. When you are pulling together your business is very, very important. So we have about 4 minutes. Oh, we got a good time. We got 4 whole minutes. I just wanted to talk about guarding your heart. Also has to do with making sure you're not distracted. Maintaining the momentum. You said keeping your environment right.
That's
renewing
important.
your mind. We have to realize that anger is an emotion. We got to check it at all times. This is the deal. This is what I heard someone say to me. I think it was Dr. Jill Tanker. We were walking down the street one day, and I said, "What are you doing walking in the hood?" I remember saying that to her. I said, "You are so interesting. And it was okay. You're just walking in the middle of the street. It was like snow, and we had to walk on the ice. And she was in this little town in Philly, but it was a impoverished neighborhood. But there was a office there, and she was meeting with some people. And I said, "You are really interesting." She said, "Well, I was born in Detroit."
Wow.
And she said,
I love her.
Yeah, multi-millionaire. I'm born in Detroit. And she said, "You know what? I like this kind of environment." And it was a little bit of confusion there too, because it wasn't organized. And she said, "Because I like being in that environment because it gives me a chance to grow." She kept saying, "I like being," sometimes when things are confusing, and she said, "I can give you some stories." And she was sharing with us, they were at the table, and one of the people at the table, I don't know if Dr. Jill remembers this, she said they were cursing. And they were cursing at the other person, and it was a real estate deal. And she said it got really, really crazy, and the person got up and walked out. It was a woman. But she said, "I stayed because it was business. And this gives me an opportunity to grow."
Yes.
And so I wanted to shout out to, or just say to our listening audience today, because, we have Kiana Cressman with me. She's here co-hosting the show, publisher of Emerge Woman magazine. You have to be able to expect when you're crossing over into the new thing that you're going to enter in. I could share this with you many ways. When you're crossing over, there's going to be forces that will want to keep you from staying.
Absolutely.
There are forces that's trying to keep you from crossing. And then when you get there, keep you from staying. But this is what I've come to learn, that it's a part of the process. It's a part of organizing yourself around the outcomes.
Wow.
Keeping your eye
on
the end, on the
love
prize. Because the mark that you're pressing for is a high mark. And so we have about a minute. Give us some departing words of what you would say to our listening audience. Kiana Cressman, publisher of Emerge Woman magazine. As we enter into 2020, many of us have already entered. What would you share with our entrepreneurs?
Don't give up. Don't give up, and surround yourselves with people who have a winning mindset. Because you win or lose based on your mindset. No one can take it away from you. It's all about how you frame your thinking. And so surround yourself with people who believe in you. And sometimes, you may be standing alone, but you'll attract what you believe. So I would say don't give up. Keep moving. Be consistent. Consistency over intensity. Be consistent. On the right things, and you can do it.
Fantastic. Thank you. She was wonderful. For those that have just joined us, you've just missed it. And for those that were with us, that was Kiana Cressman. She's the publisher of Emerge Woman magazine, giving us some words of wisdom. Hopefully you've written some of these things down. We'll be back next week. And for those that are interested in hearing more,